to the video. My name is Ilse and today I'm going to talk to you about Colleen Hoover. This is basically me raving and fangirling about my love for Colleen Hoover books. I've read everything by her except one of her short novellas or books, which came out I think was on Sunday, but I'm going to read it this month, so doesn't matter. I'm going to do an author review of her because I love her. I love all of her books and I really think a lot of people should be reading her books. Even if you're not a big romance type of guy or person, whatever. But I really enjoy them, and I'm going to tell you all of the books that she has done and then tell you where my favorites are. So let's start. I started reading Colleen Hoover with Hopeless, which Hopeless was actually her self-published first novel, I guess you could say, and it just went viral. That's what I've heard, and I'm so glad this was my first novel. This is her young adult contemporary novel, and it was amazing. Like, I fell in love with her writing, I fell in love with her characters and her stories. If you don't know, Colleen Hoover has the ability to have this beautiful story, like a beautiful storyline with beautiful characters, and then all of a sudden you hit a point where you're just hitting the feels, and then you just just get involved in the story so much, and you just care for the characters like a lot, and you cannot shake it. So I really enjoyed Hopeless. This it's about a girl who is homeschooled, and her mother decided to actually let her go to school for her senior year, and she doesn't know a lot about internet, about music, I guess. She doesn't know anything. So she meets this guy in the supermarket, and it's kind of like a weird meeting, and it just goes from there on, really. I love it. I think I actually read this book without reading anything about the synopsis because a friend of mine actually just said, you know what, read it. It's amazing, read it. So I did. I bought it on my Kindle and decided to read it, and I was not disappointed. After I read Hopeless, I read Slammed. Slammed is a book about a girl who recently lost her father to cancer, and she moves to another state in the US with her mom, and then she meets this guy who is her neighbor, and surprise, I cannot tell you because I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but surprise, something happens, and it just goes from there, and it's oriented toward the slam poetry, and the poetry is just amazing. I mean, I'm not really personally very invested in poetry, but I really enjoy poetry in this book, and it was just so good. And after that, I actually read the rest of the series or companion books. You don't have to read them, but I decided to because I thought, you know what, I already read the first book, why not read the rest of the books? So I did, and the second book is Point of Retreat, which is kind of like a continuation from the first book, and it's just kind of narrates you like a little bit of where they left off in the first book. And then the third book is kind of like, it's called This Girl, and this girl is basically like from the point of Will, who is the main male character in the books, and it's just kind of like a retelling of the events that happened in those two books, but from his point of view. Actually, it really wasn't necessary for this girl, but to be honest, I really didn't care because I loved it, so why not? After that, I read Losing Hope, which is like a companion to Hopeless, but this is in the point of view of the guy or the male protagonist in that book, and it was between the event, like before the events of Hopeless and during the events of Hopeless, and I was a mess in that book because that book, it deals with a lot of stuff, and like I said, Colleen Hoover books deal with a lot of really emotional, heart-wrenching topics, and that just did it for me. I loved it. I don't know. After that came The Cinderella Story, which is like a short novella of two side characters from Hopeless, which is like the best friends of both of the main characters, and such an amazing story. Like, I cannot tell you anything without spoiling anything, but it's like I said, it's basically like a novella between those two of what happens later, and those are like the later events of what happens, and I loved it. Like, it was just, I really wish we had more because it's just one of the stories that, I don't know, it's worth telling. Then we have Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. Oh my god. Oh my god. I love this book, and I think I've heard people talk about this book a lot, and I think this is one of the books that people go when they start reading Colleen Hoover. And I think it's a good choice, but I really feel like you should go more with her first stuff, like Slammed and Hopeless, so you just can get the feel of her, what her stories are like and what her writing is like, because then you start to appreciate it more. And this book did not disappoint at all. I love this book. I think it's one, I cannot say it's one of my favorite. Well, I love her books, so I really can't pick a favorite book, to be honest. But this book is about a girl named Sydney who has recently been cheating by her boyfriend with her roommate. So she decides to move in with her neighbor, and she recently just met her neighbor, and there's a twist in there between her and him, and it has music in it, and it's amazing. It goes along with the book, and I actually downloaded the CD or the music, and when I read it, I actually followed the music. Like, it was, I had to follow with the music because it felt like more in the moment. So then I read Ugly Love. I actually own Ugly Love, but my friend has it because she's borrowing it, and I really want it now. Can I have it back, please? Anyways, I read Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, which is like the next book that she came out with last year in August, if I'm correct. And I love this book. I actually have a book talk, and I actually have a video talking about a movie, because we're getting a movie made. Blah. With starring Nick Bateman, and I'm gonna leave a picture of him over here because Nick Bateman is bae. It's weird saying it out loud. Ugly Love is about a girl named Tate, and she recently moves in with her brother Corbin, who is a pilot, and she meets this guy named Miles, who is drunk, passed out in her brother's like apartment. And well, they have this attraction between them, but he doesn't want a relationship, she doesn't want a relationship, so they start this kind of friends with benefits type of relationship, and we kind of get to know more a little about them, and it's just that book. I think Ugly Love it's one of those books that I can't help loving. I've reread that book I think like 3 times already, or 4, and I enjoy every minute of it. Like, I find myself reading little parts of it, and I really enjoy it. It's also 2 perspectives. It's between Miles and Tate, except for Miles' perspective is 6 years before the events that are happening in the present with Tate. And then you find out a lot of things, and like I said, it's heart-wrenching. It's hard. I cried all 4 times. I cried. Then we have Maybe Not, which is kind of like a novella towards this book between the best friend of Rich. I loved it. It's just actually pretty funny because he's like, she writes such an amazing characters you can't help but love. Then Confess, which is her most recent release, which I think was in March released, and I love this book. The thing about this book that makes it so special is that this book has confessions from readers, and it just makes it more real to me. And some are really cute, some are really but some are really dark and you don't expect. There was one in particular that had me really traumatized, and I don't know what to say to that. This book follows a girl named Auburn who is desperately in need for a new job, and she's walking across the street and she sees this art gallery where they say help wanted immediately, like right now. And this gallery is owned by Owen, who is also the male protagonist in this story. And the peculiar thing about this art gallery is that people leave confessions in this little box outside the gallery, and then Owen paints them. Like, he's inspired by those confessions, and then he just displays them like once a month or so. It's just such an amazing story. Like, both of these characters are keeping secrets, but it's just amazing how these 2 characters all of a sudden just kind of intertwine with each other, and that's really all I can tell you about Confess, because Confess is just amazing. Then we have Never Never, which is like a compilation, not a compilation, like she's associated with Taryn Fisher in this. I don't know how to say it, like she's a co-writer with this. It's Colleen Hoover and Taryn Fisher, and I read the first part back in February, I think. And I was really excited when I did, because the thing that I don't like though is that they had to cut the book in like 3 parts, I guess, they're gonna be 3 parts, I'm not really sure. Second part came out, like I said, on Sunday, and I don't get it, but I liked it though, because I like the suspense of it. Never Never is about 2 people and about Silas, and I can't remember the girl's name right now, whoops. But they both kind of don't know who they are, so they're kind of trying to figure that out with each other because they were together at some point in their lives and they don't remember. And that's basically all I can tell you, because it's kind of difficult to tell you what the book is about because you don't even know what's happening. But I really enjoy it and I cannot wait to read the second part soon. The next book that is coming, I think, in the fall is called November 9, and I'm really excited to read it. I don't actually know what it's about, but I think it's something to do with a girl and novels and something like that. And I'm really excited because it's a new storyline. And so, what did I think of all these books? I've given each and every one of these books 5 stars, except I think for Never Never, I think I gave it like 4 stars or 4.5, but nonetheless, I loved every single book by her. Like I said, her books are just genuinely amazing. I don't know how else you could say it. Her characters, her storyline, her writing. I think what I really like about her the most is her writing. Like, there's some new adult books that, by the way, she writes new adult, and this is like a young adult you can refer to like Slammed, I guess, and Hopeless, and Never Never. But new adult, I really enjoy her as a new adult author, mostly because she writes really poetic when she's writing like the sex scenes, I guess. And it's not all like, you know, like, yeah, we did it and we got it in and got it out, and you know, she's just writing like, you know, this, like, she just writes the mood correctly, and it just makes it more entertaining and more lovingly, and I appreciate it more. I really can't tell you how much I love these books, to be completely honest. I cannot pick a way to put them in order, but the number 1 for me has to be Ugly Love and Maybe Someday, in my opinion, because I just enjoy those books a lot. For some reason, Hopeless will always be my favorite, no matter what though, because it was my first Colleen Hoover book. But if you are starting or wanting to get into reading Colleen Hoover, I think you should read either Hopeless or her Slam series, mostly because, like I said before, it will get you more into her writing and her characters, sort of speak. But if you don't and you just want to go, you know, go ahead and read her recent ones, maybe, I think you should go with either Maybe Someday or Ugly Love, to be completely honest. So I just love Colleen Hoover so much. Thank you for watching. So please tell me down in the comments down below if you're ever heard of Colleen Hoover, if you're wanting to read Colleen Hoover, what books are you really intrigued or curious about reading by Colleen Hoover mostly, or if you're any of the authors like her that you want to tell me in the comments down below, go ahead. Thank you for watching. Remember, I have all of my social media, I'll leave them down below, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye. Then is the rest. I really cannot tell you. I really cannot tell you how much I love these books, to be completely honest. I cannot pick a way to put